Hello and welcome to Stop and Go F1, everyone's favourite Formula 1 related YouTube channel. The Alpine launch has just this minute finished, and oh my goodness, what a long launch it was. At one point, I thought I was going to be watching this launch for the rest of my life. It was pushing 100 minutes at the end, where people complain about Red Bull's launch being long, and that was only an hour. This was over an hour and a half. Oh my, it was 100 minutes that could have been 15 minutes. Let's cover the bases that all the stuff that they covered that weren't necessarily F1 related, then we'll get onto the car at the end. So, Alpine are doing a lot for women in motorsport, which is fantastic. They have signed a few people from W Series to be a part of their F1 Academy, which is great. They have signed the British female boxer Nicola Adams to be a coach for some of the women, and they've also signed a female pilot that I can't remember the name of to be a coach as well. That's all great. They've also launched their own female go-karting team/series/academy type thing to nurture talent from a young age to progress them into Formula 1. So a lot of the launch live stream actually was dedicated to looking at women in motorsport, which of course is a very important topic. And then their big reveal was their new ambassador for Alpine, which is legendary French footballer Zinedine Zidane. That's great. Good for you. What he's actually going to do, I don't know. Obviously, he's a huge name in football, huge name in France, but what he's got to do with F1, I'm not too sure. There you go. I've probably seen him at a few races. He might drive a Renault. But there you go. The weird thing about this whole thing is that Zinedine Zidane spoke more than Pierre Gasly at this launch. But enough about all the stuff that we didn't need to talk about. Let's talk about the stuff that we do need to talk about, and that is Formula 1 cars. Here it is. It looks like the one that was leaked earlier in this week, because it is the one that was leaked earlier this week. I like it. A lot of people online at the minute are complaining about, there's too much carbon fibre, we should ban it, the FIA should move in and ban carbon fibre from Formula 1, and I think that's a bit drastic, but, it's nice to have colours sometimes, and here we go, we've got this lovely colour here, the blue and the pink of the BWT. Of course, there is some weight saving here across the engine cover and along the sides into the nose, down here as well. I do quite like this little design on the back here with the little kind of cross pattern, whatever you want to call that. But this is not the only car they have, because they also have this. That's very pixelated there, sorry about that. So, as they did last year, they will also have a pink car for the first 3 races of the year due to their sponsorship with BWT. So basically they've just swapped out the blue for the pink. And the wheel things here, very good. Might say, best wheel things. Maybe that's a video in the future. Ranking all the wheel things. We shall see. But what I do want to talk about is just how confident Alpine seems to be, especially at the start of the live stream. They were talking there, and I have been saying on the launches for this year that I think we're going to have a three-way battle for 4th place between Alpine, Aston and McLaren. Even though I do think that McLaren may struggle this year, especially at the start of this year, they don't seem very confident. But Alpine are the opposite of McLaren, because they seem extremely confident, because not only are they saying that they are going to continue to be 4th, best of the rest, but they're also claiming that their aim this year is to closing the gap between 3rd and 4th place, which, if they could do that, would be very impressive, because I think the top 3 teams are going to be very strong this year. So if they can really get close to that top 3, that's very good for everyone. So let's talk about now this driver lineup. the double French driver lineup for the French team, Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly finally leaving the Red Bull family after years. Of course, he was in the Red Bull Young Drivers Program, through to Toro Rosso, to Red Bull, back to Toro Rosso, and then it became AlphaTauri where he stayed, and that team has really been his team for the last few years, and he's finally out in the big wide world and into the hands of Alpine with his teammate here, Esteban Ocon. Of course, there was rumours that these two don't get on. They seem to get on quite well in this launch show, but, that is just a launch show. Let's see how they get on when they're wheel to wheel. Looking at the discourse surrounding Pierre Gasly this year, it seems like a lot of people have forgotten who he is, because everyone seems to think that Ocon's going to just wipe the floor with him, and they just seem to think, oh yeah, this is Ocon's team and Gasly's going to disappear. I think they're forgetting that in 2020 and 2021, you could honestly argue that Pierre Gasly was the third best driver on the entire grid behind Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. He is incredibly talented. He is so good. Last year, the AlphaTauri was awful, and no one could prove anything in there. He still beat Yuki Tsunoda quite convincingly, but it was not able to properly display his talents. So if you right now are at home sleeping on Pierre Gasly, wake up! Because I think he's got something to prove this year, and I think he's going to do it. If I'm laying out early predictions, here's one for you. Pierre Gasly beats Esteban Ocon, because Esteban Ocon, he's okay. In my opinion, he is not as good as Pierre Gasly. We shall wait and see if this comes true, but Ocon, in his career, his entire career, has only ever beaten his teammate once, and that was last year when Fernando Alonso had the worst luck of anyone in the world, and he needed the worst luck of anyone in the world for Ocon to beat him. It was still quite close. So let's not be gassing up Ocon here too early. I think this is going to be a good battle between the two of them. I can't wait to see it. But speaking just generally of last year, of course, Alpine just had a lot of reliability problems. The Renault engine has consistently been unreliable for over a decade, and that has carried on into the new generation. A lot of teams focusing on cooling this year, and it seems like Alpine are as well. You see these big old grills here on the side, and these big old, it look like exhaust here for cooling. So maybe that will help them with reliability, and they will need the help as well with reliability. I mean, when you look at last year, the battle for fourth, it was Alpine with the handicap of their car keeps exploding versus McLaren with the handicap of Daniel Ricciardo. So it was really just a battle of who could lose the least, and the winners were Alpine. So, interesting year this year for Alpine. That, of course, is actually our last livery launch here. So we are done now. We know what all the cars look like. All 10 cars have been revealed. All it's waiting for now is for them to hit the track. And I mean, this time next week, we would have finished our first day of F1 testing in 2023. I'm very excited for it. I love testing because you just sit down in the morning and you watch cars go round and round in circles until the afternoon. And people just guess and go, oh, well, maybe that one's fast, maybe it's not. So, we shall wait and see. If there's any big news stories that come up, I'll come here and talk about it. But if not, I will see you next Thursday for a testing day one roundup. Oh, man. Who knows what the stories are going to be then? It's all very, very exciting. I, for one, cannot wait. And I hope you can't wait either. So if you are excited as I am, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. And until then, goodbye.